Welcome back to the garage. Today we're going to be fitting the front fork sliders and the rear swing arm sliders from SM Project. Before you go too far into the video, please remember to like and subscribe and hit that bell icon to get any more updates on the build. So first things first, we undo the pinch bolts for the brake side or the end nut side of the front forks. Only undoing one side because if you undo both sides, the whole spindle will spin when you try to undo this nut. So then we undo the nut, really not that tight. Discard of the factory one as we won't need that, or put it in your box and store it if you ever want to sell the bike. Then we install the SM Project end nut. Really, I did put some grease on the end of it as there was grease on the original one. So I just nipped this up with my ratchet. So then we torque up the end nut with your torque wrench. I won't quote torques as I don't want to be liable for anything. However, it's not all that tight. As you see, going through the torque. And then my torque wrench shows green, so that's all nice and torqued. We then do the slide bobbin for the front. So this is again just an Allen key, screws into that end nut, and then just make sure your logos are nice and straight where you want them. And then get your ratchet, and we will do that up kind of just over hand tight. Make sure it's nice and tight, not too tight, but just tight enough so that it doesn't go anywhere. Might be just a note to add maybe a little dab of Loctite to that bolt. So now we're on to the other side. It's real simple this side, so we just matter of slide the SM Project slider bung into the hollow tube of the axle, line your logos up where you want them, and then you just do the Allen key up in the middle. This then has a mechanism on it that will pinch tight. Again, do it up as you feel tight enough. But not too tight as you don't want to go stripping any threads or breaking anything. Just a note for this, there is all these torque settings. They are on an online workshop manual that is available online. I found mine on Etsy, so if you want to go there, otherwise other people have found them elsewhere. Back to the other side, doing those pinch bolts like we undid earlier. So again, torque them correctly. They're not all that tight, so 2 bolts this side, and then I also, just for safe measure, slackened off and torqued up the other side as well. It's just good practice to make sure all the bolts are nice and tight. So now that we've done the front, we're now onto the back sliders. So these are a little bit more involved. So get the bike up on a stand. I also put a bit of wood underneath the wheel, as you will be sliding the whole axle out, so I didn't want the wheel to drop out, and that worked a treat. So we undo this center shaft nut. This one is a lot tighter. Again, make sure you're using your torque settings. So we take this nut out of the way. We will still need this nut after, so put it safe. Now onto the other side. So now is where the whole wheel will drop, so make sure that wood's under there. Pull the shaft out from the bike, and as you see, it didn't drop too much because I had that wood under there. I did find this end of the adjuster that's threaded to the actual through shaft is Loctited on and was stuck to the shaft, so I did have to apply some heat to it. As I'm not going to be using the factory ones, wasn't too worried, so I just applied it around the inner side so that if there was any discoloration, would minimize it on the outside, and it worked a treat, to be honest. You would never know that it got warmed up a little bit. Didn't go too crazy with it. Once it was heated, gave it a little tap with a hammer, and it was pretty loose then, so she tapped it around a little bit. It then got to the point of it was loose enough to get my hand, so because it was still warm, I got a heatproof glove, and then managed to burn myself in the process, but undo that off the end of the shaft. So then after we've got the old adjuster off, we clean all the threads up, make sure there's no Loctite left in those threads, and we then check whether the new part threads on correctly, and it does. Then I apply some Loctite to the threads, as I want to keep to the manufacturer's guidelines to a certain extent, as the bike does still have warranty, and as a technical trained person, I do want to make sure that everything is all as it should be. We then tighten up that end adjuster. Make sure it's tight as well. We don't want that coming loose. The Loctite should also help with that. Cleaning off the shaft, make sure we've got no debris on there, any dirt, and then a slight bit of grease, and it's ready to go back in the bike. So put it back in the bike, I got the chain side, so the left side, started first, and then I went round, and because I needed to straighten the wheel up and support it, went and supported that wheel, and then it popped through lovely to the other side of the bike. Just make sure it's at home, kind of all in flush. In terms of the adjuster, satisfying for before and after with the adjuster there, taking the old one out, putting the nice machined orange anodized SM Project one in, and then we put the nuts on there. We want to do it out with our fingers, but not too tight, as we will need to adjust it after. Then the bobbins don't come on these from out of the packet, so you just bolt those on. Real simple. Again, an Allen key there. Just do them up to what you feel is tight, with your logos in the right orientation. Once your SM Pro bits are all fitted and they're still kind of, the center bolt is loose, we then have to adjust the chain tension. This is done with the lock nut and the adjuster in the swing arm. Again, these details are in the user or the workshop manual. I believe it's having the top chain with the top of the chain tight, the under the chain 30mm back from the guide should be 5mm gap. Don't quote me on that, make sure you check that. We adjusted those out, make sure the lines on your adjusters and your swing arm all are straight and the wheels are nice and straight. And then we torque up the center bolt and make sure we tighten up the adjusters as well. And we're all done there and we're ready to ride. Thanks for watching. I wanted to make this a review in some way of the products, which are great from SM Project, and I also wanted to give you a kind of a tutorial or kind of a rough guide on how to fit them. Obviously, you will need to make sure you're working safe, using the right stands, using the right torque settings, etc. If you don't feel safe to do all this, if you don't feel confident, then please do get in touch with your local motorbike shop and get them to sort it. In terms of fitting, as the last thing we want is anybody get hurt. As for that, ride safe, make sure you like and subscribe to my channel please, and I'll see you in the next video.